Well, welcome back in. Well, if you're looking for a new book to read or something to do tonight, later today at 7 p.m., Joseph-Beth Booksellers at Lexington Green hosting a book signing with author and musician and filmmaker Andrew Greer. This is for his new book, More Than a President, Sundays with Jimmy Carter. Andrew Greer has published 3 books, released multiple chart-topping recordings, and directed the documentary Plainspoken, a film inspired by the lives of Jimmy and Rosalynn Carter and their neighbors in Plains, Georgia. Joining me today is Andrew. Andrew, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me, Cindy. Number 1, props for saying Rosalynn, not Rosalynn. So way to go.
Yes, I've been schooled on that. I've been
Yes.
schooled on that. So, I'm not gonna lie, I sometimes still get tripped up. But
Sure.
well, so Andrew, you know, we're talking about your new book.
Yes.
Tell me, what was it like uncovering these archives of his Sunday school teachings?
Well, you know, I think the awesomeness of a former leader of the free world, someone who has ascended to arguably the most powerful position in the world, still serving with humility on the weekends and teaching Sunday school. That's the first thing I wanted to paint that picture by having these words of his collected in this way. Just kind of a contrast to our culture of power, but a strength and a courage that really digs down deep to uplift people high. And I think that's what you find in these lessons, is a tenderness, a kindness, a strength through loving. That love really is something that is strong.
Yeah. How did you go about finding these archives?
Well, you know, first it was just simple. So the church that he was a member of for years and years after his presidency, Maranatha Baptist Church in Plains, is where I'm also a member. Small A-frame church, small congregation. Hundreds of people, of course, would come to hear him teach. Yeah. So in our little library, I just started finding VHS tapes and cassette tapes and these old archives. And then I started digging deeper and going, why haven't these been put kind of in a chapter book form? And then with the blessing, of course, of the church, some of the family, and some of his staff at the Carter Center, I was able to dig in deeper and find lessons that span from the 70s when he was president all the way to 2019, the last year he taught.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How did you balance that with him doing these teachings as a president versus, you know, outside of that?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, he brought that history, that world experience into all of his lessons. I think there was a more seriousness to his lessons when he was president, of course, because he was sitting in the Oval Office while, you know, during the week and then coming to teach on Sundays. In the post-presidency, while he was working around the world with Rosalynn and his humanitarian efforts, there was a bit more of a lightness, a more conversational nature, a little more interactivity and engagement with the congregation in those lessons.
Yeah, and how do you hope that this book will help bridge the divides that we see kind of in this cultural difference today? I
think for any of us, regardless of what our spirituality is, our spiritual life is the bridge, is the connector, is the unifier, because it foundations us in a way in how we treat each other, how we see each other. So these Sunday school lessons are part of his faith, his spirituality, and in his sharing that, I think that builds a bridge. For me personally, I truly believe that Jesus still is a connector across the aisle, and that's what these lessons express, you know.
And so, you know, we're talking about, you live in Plains,
Yeah.
so you're kind of neighbors, you were kind of neighbors with Jimmy and Rosalynn. What was that like for you to write this book?
Well, you know,
Yes,
I came in later into the Plains era, so later in their life. I live about 5 doors down from where they're buried now, and we welcome people from all over the world into Plains. But they were heroes of mine first. I was just a tourist first. I mean, these are people who, the way they interact in the world, the way they treated people, the respect with which they gave people, including their neighbors in Plains, is what drew me to them. And so there was a bit of a sensitivity or a real tentativeness to wanting to steward these words right, because first, President Carter is a hero of mine, an example of how we can live, how we can interact with each other, and how we can truly love our neighbors as ourselves.
Beautifully said. And now let's talk about this book signing. Are you excited for this book signing going on tonight?
Here in the snow. I thought, like we were saying, I thought this was the South, but you're from Alabama. I live in Georgia. You know, we know that deep
different South.
Yeah, that's right, a non-snowy South. But I'm really excited, and as some friends said today, oh, this is nothing compared to a couple weeks ago. People have come out. Joseph-Beth is a wonderful bookseller. Local bookstores are things I think we should support, and so I'm excited to be there to hopefully draw some people out to support. And we're going to have a conversation about the Sunday school lessons with Raymond Locke, who's a wonderful professor at Eastern Kentucky University. So it'll be fun. It'll be warm inside. Would love for people to show up.
All right, and 7 p.m.
7 p.m.
Free to the public.
Free to the public. Books will be available, and I'll sign them afterwards.
All right, and doing a Q&A. So guys, you guys definitely have to go out to Joseph-Beth, get this book, get it signed, have a discussion as well. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you,
us
Cindy.
today. It was great to have you here. And guys, stick around. We have more news coming up after the break.